Greetings, ladies and melons, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Humans and Their Various Milks, written by Dark Prince 010. While humans and their practices, appearances, and physiology are widely and understandably accepted as disgusting, it bears investigation into the underlying reasons for exactly why this is the case. Humans, like so many other species of intelligent beings in the universe, are in large part a product of their processes and environments they emerged from. We call this process the honing, but humanity named it evolution, although this process, it should be noted, was only formally observed and quantified approximately 6,800 years after their species developed writing systems. Through this process, we can get a greater understanding of what pressures human physiology were under that resulted in such strange and off-putting creatures we see today. For starters, most life on the human's home planet of Earth has evolved to use proteins, a hydrated and nitrosylated carbon acid chain that link together in a variety of forms, much as one might build a starship from subcomponents. While not as efficient, precise, or durable as our own silicate microcrystals, they achieve much the same purposes with humans' proteins. In addition, proteins have a noted advantage in speed of assembly and the ability to function in spite of, or in some cases directly because of, cleavage of the protein molecule. Similarly, all things to be considered life on Earth are enveloped at the microscopic scale by lipid envelopes, and more complex life forms routinely use triglycerides to store forms of energy as well as to perform other functions. The latter of these molecules is a non-polar substance that can be a liquid or solid ambient temperature depending on side chain saturation, and humans colloquially refer to them as fats. Now, humans, like every species that displays cooperative behaviors thus discovered across all plants and star systems, provide nutritional supplements by natural physiological processes to their offspring. However, humans are a class of revolting animals on their home planet called mammals, which, rather than sensibly deposit a developing fetus in a protective casing and with an inbuilt nutritional supplement or yolk sac as nearly all other species are known to, instead gestate the creature within themselves before excreting it at a premature development point and processing to care for, feed, safeguard it outside of any sort of protective housing. The food of choice is the topic of this unfortunate chapter, a slurry of primarily triglyceride and proteins known as milk. Now, it cannot be held against a species that their own development would necessitate to be so off-putting. But the concern goes deeper than that. Of course, the underdeveloped fetuses, often referred to as infants, are a primary consumer of this substance. But humans also routinely consume and imbibe, and here I am cautioning readers with a more delicate constitution that the following passages and revelations may upset and disturb the unprepared. Humans are routinely known to consume other species' milk, particularly those of the domesticated food animals from within their own mammalian taxonomy. This is performed even by mature adults, and rather than being a niche and rightfully shunned perversion, it is a multi-trillion credit industry spanning nearly every known country and culture on their planet. It should be noted here that adult humans are not innately capable of digesting and properly processing milk in a way to avoid discomfort, illness, or worse. While the human's process of evolution has managed to grant the ability to tolerate milk to some subgroups across their planet, rather than abandon such clearly unsuitable foodstuff, the remainder have instead processed and purified it using intentional bacterial rotting to cleave the offending proteins and molecules that induce sickness into humans. From this, the humans' yet entirely new classification of foodstuffs, with the entire category of everything pertaining either directly to milk or, unfortunately, countless milk-based byproducts and components referred to as dairy. It is clear from discussion with humans just how deeply this has become ingrained in their species, for even their name of the local megacluster of stars is named galaxy, a word rooted in one of their subculture's terms for milk. Indeed, even the entire galaxy we both unfortunately share is named the Milky Way, even in their modern documentation. This is further upsetting revelation, as they have named countless astronomical bodies after real and mythical heroes and individuals, creatures, and all manner of other subjects far more suitable than an upsetting protein slurry they insist on consuming. But this provides an adequate segue into the discussion of human idioms and language choices in relation to the family of dairy-based products. For example, when we had first made contact with humans after one of their probes had inadvertently struck an unoccupied cargo barge, the humans made repeated references to the probe becoming emulsified high-fat content milk, something the humans called cream. It caused quite a stir and quite a bit of confusion due to the translator's direct approach to parsing the strange use of language. This was further compounded when we received an official greeting of peace and welcome from the humans at our first diplomatic summit. Their delegates had been uncertain of our response being too formal and stiff, and in private but overheard discussion, they'd referred to their own verbal greeting as being made of solidified and rotted milk, or, to use the human phrase, cheesy. It was off-putting, to say the least, and again, took a great deal of supplemental explanation and inquiry to understand the meaning behind this phrase. The confusion and unclear idiom usage has continued to the present days, with incidents such as recently the last formal summit. We had offered the humans an unoccupied mining world in order to facilitate and promote good feelings in the upcoming trade agreement. However, the negotiators asked if we meant to cover the humans in triglycerides and solid fats. Our own ambassadors did not understand, wondering if this was perhaps an offensive term, something used to mark or shame individuals, but we were very concerned until we discovered that the phrase meant buttering someone up is only rarely considered to have a negative inflection. As is prudent with any relationship with a neighboring culture, we have kept tabs on unencrypted human communications to better understand their behavioral patterns and preferences, so as to avoid further misunderstandings. Time and again, we have found that human phrases as they relate to milk and dairy products are baffling. Such phrases and declarations range from waiting in exchange for sweet and frozen milk solids to nebulous questions about personal possession and ownership of milk asked by the very domesticated creatures that produced it, to the expressions of disbelief that triglyceride extract from plant material is not in fact a solidified fat from animal extracts. On this final topic, humanity expresses the depths of its bizarre fixation, for in addition to milks extracted from the primary domesticated mammal used for this purpose, they also appear to have an almost perverse curiosity with milking any animal capable of producing this substance, and with the term occasionally leaving the mammalian class and being applied to venom produced by members of the reptilian class on Earth, it is routinely common to find only that domesticated animals, only slightly related to the primary domesticated milk species, have been milked, with their own byproducts turned into an entirely separate range of dairy offerings. Thanks to this insistence on breadth of consumer choice in the food acquisition depots of humans called grocery stores, dairy sections can become elaborate, sprawling affairs as they attempt to cover every possible incarnation and iteration of mammalian milk products. Some of you may be confused to learn that the expressed milk of human species themselves is considered a highly desirable luxury, although it appears this desire is uncommon at best. While outside species may question why drinking the milk of other species would be seen as more culturally appropriate than that of your own species, it is nevertheless generally held as a general taboo. However, humans were not satisfied with merely exploiting the milk-producing capabilities of every other mammalian species, unwise enough to allow themselves to be captured, but also proceeded to extract and convert countless unoffending plants and vegetation into so-called milks as well. These typically are sourced from liquids extracted from the plant seeds and related structures prior to heavy processing, but the sheer range is disconcerting, and many of these have been likewise further processed into their own respective range of dairy creations. Abominations would be perhaps a better term, but that would assume that there was anything holy or sacrosanct about dairy products in the first place. In closing, I would strongly suggest preparing yourself mentally for any interactions with humans due to the strange obsession, and how off-putting it is for all right-minded intelligent species. Our linguistic scholars have confirmed that the human use of milk-related language has sharply increased shortly after making contact with our species, and the subsequent discovery of how revolting their practice of consuming it is. Be forewarned that they will likely use such language around you to unsettle and disrupt negotiators and diplomats and grant an edge to their own negotiations in any following discussions. We are aware that the humans are doing this intentionally, thanks to leaked internal communication documents. In the humans' own terms, they call it milking it for all it's worth. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.